Hello and welcome back to Aston Martin and F1 Manager 2022. It's Monza, the temple of speed, something that our car drastically lacks. This isn't going to be too pleasant, although there is a new front wing which may help mitigate a little bit of our disadvantage in that area. Last time out was Holland, and if you've not seen that episode, it was actually, well, I was going to say as chaotic, but the real world Dutch Grand Prix went absolutely bonkers. So there's some chaos. Go check it out. The link's in the description below, along with the link for my Twitch channel. So if you want to watch these live, right now I'm streaming this on the day of the Dutch Grand Prix, but it won't come out until much later on YouTube, just because I'm recording ahead. So by the time this actually goes live, it'll only be a couple of days before I'm back streaming again. So do check that out. It should be on the Friday that I return to the streaming, so it'll only be a couple of days. So you might as well get yourself all followed up and ready to watch with, as we will return to do the rest of this season. So we've still got Singapore next, and then I will be back from my break to do Japan onwards. But for now, our focus is on Italy.
Welcome to Life in the Fast Lane. We're here at Monza in Italy, the home of Ferrari. But who will take home the points this weekend? Let's find out as we get started with the Italian Grand Prix. Monza, a centurion among circuits, dripping with motorsport history. Expect to see cars fly by, as 80% of the track is tackled at full throttle. It's not all go, however, and brakes can be prone to overheating through the tight chicanes that Monza has to offer. The weekend begins here.
Well, it was a weird practice session there. Lance Stroll's got another penalty. This one must be actually engine parts this time. I've noticed that for some reason, a lot of cars haven't actually changed engine parts into the ones where they should take penalties, but still have taken penalties. I don't know why. This might be a legitimate one for Lance Stroll now. But Pierre did manage to do a fairly representative lap at the end of that session with old engine parts. So bear that in mind when you're comparing his times. Seb went off about 5 or 6 times in practice 2, and I can only assume that's the reason why he was 20% behind in track acclimatization by the end of that session. I don't know why that's a thing in the game, because he still managed to keep on driving. He didn't come back in. So I don't really know what the mechanics are in that respect. Also, in practice 3, his gearbox tipped over to major damage, not terminal damage, but it wouldn't let me back out again with it. You know, even though the engine part doesn't say terminal, it says major and will provide significant slower times. It doesn't say I can't use it, but then the game said I couldn't use it. So I could let him out of the pits with it, but the actual engine piece said, you can put it in, but it won't be any good. So I don't know what's going on there. Either way, it's cost Seb one of his 15 points, because he only got to 85 track acclimatization, all things considered, because I couldn't run him a second time in practice 3. But 100% on the setup. Obviously, they get their best parts back in again, and you can actually see both of their best practice lap times weren't too far apart. In fact, Seb's was still 6/10 off, but it's time to actually qualify. Oh, the Williams has already come out.
It's green now.
Along with an Alfa Romeo. I'm going to give a little bit of a buffer to that Williams and send Pierre out, and give Pierre and mine a bit of a buffer and send Seb out. Well, there is some concern here as Russell leaves the pits, but he is the only one that's going to get in the way of Pierre. Sebastian could have another one, I can't tell, obviously, because the big green dot of Pierre covers the pits as we get through there. And the good news is, obviously, a lot of this track is just straight, so unless Pierre catches him in a chicane, should be all right. Or if there's any kind of dodgy get out of the way situations there. Not sure if that was a dodgy get out of the way situation or not. But we'll go fully on board with Pierre now. He's got a clean lap. Seb's going to have to deal with George as well, but I think Seb will catch him on the second straight, the second DRS zone. So Seb might be all right. Just to glide past him there, and that won't be too much of a bother. The Ferrari, just starting his flying lap, actually has just locked up in the first sector. That's not turn 11. He locked up in turn 1. He locked up in the chicane. But Pierre Gasly round what is actually turn 11 to cross the line. And he's popped in a 1:20. It's better than the Tifi, which is good news. 1:23.5, I make that. Sebastian Vettel may have been blocked tiny amount by George Russell and puts in 6/10 worse than Gasly. Don't think he's quite 6/10 worse than Gasly in general. So George now has to navigate both Aston Martins to do his flying lap, which is quite funny. Well, as some people come back in off their original flying laps, it's pretty evident who got held up. In fact, probably everyone from Stroll downwards was definitely held up. Whether Vettel was a little bit, I can't tell. Sainz obviously was. The rest of the field, I imagine, is accurate. So Gasly is just a shred behind Albon. That could be easily recovered in the second run of things. Now, of course, it's a 1 minute 20 lap, which means we're probably expecting cars to start coming out around 2:45 because it's double the lap time. Around 2:45. I am tempted to send Vettel out first again because if there's any major blockages... Oh, they're already coming out at 2:50. I wasn't expecting this. It's normally just after the last car comes in, they start coming out. Oh, okay, in that case, we change plans and we just come out behind one of our faster cars. So there's one Ferrari, there's one Mercedes. The second McLaren, both Red Bulls are coming out. I'll get Pierre behind whatever fast cars are here. I think actually all the faster cars are gone now. AlphaTauri besides. And if I click quick enough, we should be able to get them line astern. There we go. Before the other Williams. Important. So whilst there are two Alfa Romeos behind that Williams, which are faster than it, we do have the Williams as a buffer. Provided nobody decides to overtake them. So my plan to get Vettel out ahead there was somewhat scuppered by cars coming out a little bit earlier than they normally would do. Because I was aware of that Alpine coming back into the pit lane. And oddly enough, they must have done a very fast pit stop because they came back out again pretty much straight away. So Alonso at the head, and he will get a clean lap in then. It was Ocon that was coming back in the pit lane and has come straight back out again immediately. Pull in, pit stop, pull back out again, you'll ever see. But the importance of a clean lap here cannot be understated. If any number of these ones that had an issue, Russell wasn't the cut. Just to clarify, by the way, it was actually Hamilton that was the Mercedes that was in our way / we were slightly in the way of, but he seemed to have cleared our cars relatively okay for his flying lap. But he may have slightly held up Vettel. As Pierre starts his flying lap behind one of the AlphaTauris, I don't know which one it is. Hilariously, it's Stroll. As someone's had a lock-up in Sector 2, that's far enough of the field that's not going to be a problem. Ooh, he's just gone a little bit wide and not really lost any time, but it might have held up that... Oh, it might have... no. Depending on yellow flag dynamics in that world there, that Williams may have been held up. So that could be good news for us, because Albon was the one directly behind Danny Rick. So if he was held up, that's good news for Gasly. But Gasly has done a faster first sector, as has Seb. Good news for the pair of them. And in fact, Albon did go marginally faster, but not dramatically so. There goes one of the people that was out of order. Russell. Behind us, Vettel now in the bottom 5. Alonso's only done a slower time than Gasly, so he was one of the people held up, and he was one of the front of the queue. How is Alonso behind us? Gasly crosses the line and does go ahead of Albon. That is crucial. Both AlphaTauris are now ahead. Vettel goes faster than Latifi, briefly at least. Back again. Magnussen goes faster than Gasly. Mick Schumacher. Gasly is through. Ricciardo obviously locking up. I forgot his lap would have been compromised, and I forgot he was behind us originally. I could have actually done the incentive. I realised I de-cameraed to show the Ricciardo situation, so the excitement at the end of Q3. Fernando Alonso is out in Q3. That is a weird one. He was at the front of the queue, so he should have had a clean track. I don't know why he was so bad. He must have gone wrong on his own flying lap to have been that far behind, because he's that much slower than Esteban Ocon as well. I mean, even if he hadn't, Pierre would have been fine because Daniel Ricciardo had a moment, but let's be real, if Alonso and Ricciardo had done proper laps, I think Pierre would have been 16th. I can't tell what happened with Alonso though. So for the first time since Miami, we're in Q2. And actually, we saw last time that being out directly first means you have a clean lap, although it's a shorter session this time, so I don't know. Pierre Gasly has a clean track to do his first flying lap. And actually, there's an AlphaTauri just coming out of the pit lane that is just about probably going to come out behind the McLaren. Or not. That is why we did not wait. Because Norris has been held up by one of the AlphaTauris there into that first chicane. But Pierre Gasly on a flying lap in Q2. What a majestic sight this is. Scrub tyres, we're not expecting much. We'll use the clean tyres for the end of this. And obviously with only 15 cars on the track, it would be slightly less chaotic. And we might be able to actually time ourselves to be last in that one, just because there's less cars in the first place. But out of the final corner and across the line soon. It's 1:23.4. That's actually faster than his first flying lap in Q1. And they're the same tyres. And there's a representative lap from someone who can actually drive a car that's good. And there's Norris's compromised lap as well. So many compromised laps. Bottas, Magnussen, Norris, Perez, both AlphaTauris getting karmic justice for blocking Norris originally. Both Ferraris should be fine, but there is a Ferrari still just coming round on his in-lap that may not get back out again. But once again, we'll at very least wait for all the faster cars to depart. AlphaTauri out first. We saw last time that didn't work out well for Fernando. One of the Ferraris has come out. There's the Merc. One car further up, the Kia has come out. There's the Williams. There's the other Ferrari as well. Literally straight in, straight back out again. Trying to think if we've actually had everyone out from in front of us yet. There's a Red Bull behind us. Both Red Bulls are behind us. Kind of what I didn't want. But Perez is the first of those two. So if he gets held up by us, that could be a problem for them. It does appear that the Red Bulls have afforded us a nice little gap, so we don't really need to worry about Perez behind, I don't think. Stroll bolted from the front of that queue originally and has maintained a very massive gap as he started his flying lap. I thought there'd be an issue there because I came up in yellow. Please don't do that. So naturally, obviously, Pierre's time will be faster just because of having brand new tyres on. It's also impossible to know if everyone else used tyres. Everyone's using soft tyres, of course. That's something I have noticed, is that nobody really tries to use medium tyres for qualifying. Stroll goes faster. Not comfortably faster, though. Pierre Gasly somehow done a worse middle sector on older tyres, though. Albon goes marginally faster. But it's all the people with slower laps behind. There goes Norris. No one was compromised. Tsunoda goes ahead. Gasly doesn't even take out. He doesn't do a faster lap on brand new tyres. I don't know what happened there. In fact, he's going to start 15th, I think, because Magnussen, there he goes. That's such a shame for Pierre. I think he could have easily got 13th there. He will start 13th because of penalties to Leclerc and Lance Stroll, which means Vettel will also start 17th.
Tension continues to build here as race day begins.
A sunny day here with only a few clouds in the sky. If things stay this way, the weather shouldn't pose any challenges to the teams.
Well, one thing we do know, this race is going to be fast, and Monza is ready for it.
Let's see what the setups actually look like. Oh, strategy, sorry. Let's see what the strategies actually look like. So medium, soft, I mean, it feels fairly straightforward, doesn't it? I don't even know why that's a strategy. He's not even going to get to the end of the race on that, really, if you remotely push them. We saw actually the harder compounds were marginally better. Now, obviously, off the line, whoever's starting on a soft is going to have a bit of a benefit, but we might as well set that up so we can do this. And we'll do it with both drivers. We'll do it with both drivers because they're far enough removed. You know what, Seb as well, we'll just push it a lap later because he's better on his tyres, so he'll be able to do better with those mediums, just so they're not coming in on the same lap. Right then, and driver options, of course. Almost forgot about them. That's defend, that's not what we want. Just full deploy, off the line. I'm always tempted to actually give them marginally more fuel, just so they can push the fuel harder at the beginning of the race. But we'll leave it as is.
Now we should have good weather for the race, and that will be welcome news for the teams. There we have Pierre Gasly. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. And for the second driver, it's Sebastian Vettel. They're starting in the bottom half of the grid today, so there's a lot of cars between them and the podium. Everything's been building to this. Here we are at the oldest circuit in Europe for this, the Italian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Off we go indeed. Gasly starts 13th directly next to Albon or behind him. And it looks like he might have the drive off the line. And in fact, he's cleared Tsunoda too. But Tsunoda's got the inside on the chicane as they go into it. But Pierre will have the inside on the way out of it. And in fact, has position. At the back, Vettel has maintained position, hasn't... In fact, I think he's lost position. No, Leclerc didn't start that far enough back that Vettel actually gained a place. So Vettel has simply just stayed in position. We get to watch Pierre Gasly again here at a very far distance as there is absolute carnage into corner one. I say carnage, everyone got through fine, but it looks more dramatic than it is. Now come in now. Oh, there's been an incident in sector one. Someone has gone wide. I don't know who it was. Verstappen ran wide in turn 5 and literally didn't lose a place. I'm not going to watch it, but that seems unfortunate for everyone involved. But Gasly now on the fringe of the points. In fact, Norris is the one ahead of him. So this will be vital. This will be a vital position to gain for Sebastian Vettel. Albon down to 14th. As Leclerc's managed to rightfully claimed that position back. But Gasly on the inside of Norris. We'll just check the tyre situation as we round the final corner. Fair few starting on softs here. Unfortunately, Norris is on the medium, so we don't know whether he's doing medium soft or medium hard. I can only assume that's a tit for tat with Mick Schumacher rather than losing a place to Latifi. Yeah, it's just Schumacher on Vettel. We won't bother watching it. Oh, Pierre goes into the back, seemingly, of Norris there, but it's not actual damage. That must be visual. In fact, that might have actually pushed Tsunoda back. Net, in terms of time. Yeah, he's barely within a second. And now he isn't. So next time around, if there is DRS, Tsunoda won't have it. Unless Leclerc clears him and provides one in between. We'll watch this time, though, because we didn't see this. It's into the first chicane. Alonso's still stuck down there, I notice. But Mick started on the softs, so he's on that really dodgy, sketchy, softer medium strategy. I just realised it's weird that none of the strategies was soft-hard. Because it was soft-medium, medium-hard, and medium-soft, effectively. None of them was soft-hard, and soft-hard would probably get to the end of the race. Unlike soft-medium. Gasly's still having a look at Norris, and Leclerc has cleared Tsunoda for now. I imagine he will provide a buffer. And in fact, Pierre's sticking his nose in on Norris here, but yields on the out of that. Why? Why do you bother yielding? Why do you bother looking if you're going to yield? Because now that's provided the gap. And Leclerc's back in range.
This is good.
Oh, you don't have DRS at ERS. One day I'll get that right. Neither driver has ERS anymore. We will continue to push them because we can, because we're going aggressive on this strategy anyway. There's no DRS on this straight. Mickey's 2 seconds off Vettel. I don't know what happened there. Vettel is having to go on Stroll, who is really having a problem right now. In fact, Vettel was behind Latifi originally, wasn't he? So he did actually clear Latifi off the line, I now realise. So Vettel on his former teammate on the outside of the chicane once again becomes the inside. That's Albon directly ahead. He's had a very poor race up till now. Once again, good in qualifying, not so good in the race for Williams, it seems. Seems to be a big trend with Williams at the moment, and Daniel Ricciardo for that matter. Better pass Stroll now as Alonso's looking at Albon. No DRS for Albon, probably. No DRS for Tsunoda, just about, got it. But actually, I'm not fully certain Tsunoda's going to be in DRS range by the end of the next straight. Gasly has Leclerc for company now, though, so almost want him to let him through. It's Leclerc on softs here. We can actually go fully aggressive on these tyres for a little bit, because it's only going to go down to a 4 dot for the remainder of the stint. In fact, I'm almost tempted to let it go down to the 4 dot balance just to try and maybe let Leclerc through here. Alonso's taken Albon. Vettel's on the back of Albon now. So if he can take him in this, it looks like Leclerc's position. Oh God, Pierre closed him off. Norris and Magnussen are fighting now, which isn't good news for us. Oh, no, actually, it's great news for us because Magnussen closed Norris off and absolutely compromised him. I don't know why he's saying Leclerc is 8 tenths behind Norris. He's basically inside him. There we go, that's updated correctly now. And we are in a DRS train from Bottas, in fact. The fact that Vettel hasn't got Albon yet is a little surprising. It may be because Albon's got DRS of his own now. Leclerc not made a move on Norris there. It surprises me marginally. So these guys are going to be slightly under trajectory, but they should be all right regardless. They save a little bit of time just by the fact that they're in a queue. If they were just freely pushing on 5 dots, then that would be a slightly different conundrum. But Gasly in the points for the time being. Obviously, Leclerc's going to be coming through at some point. So it would be nice to clear Magnussen or Zhou at least, as everyone just spreads out and goes for entirely different lines. In fact, Magnussen may get Zhou here just by the positioning of his vehicle. He does. Leclerc's got Norris, which is great news. And once again, a compromised vehicle. This time it's Zhou, but Pierre got compromised at the same time. If Pierre can get the line on Zhou into this next corner, he can't, seemingly, although he's pulled out. A lot of action. Vettel's finally got Albon
So this was the Aston
into the chicane. Nothing really confusing there. Straightforward. Love the fact these chicanes provide fantastic, probably, thumbnails. We're ahead of both Williamses now. Albon with a really shocking race so far, but Vettel's really got to push to get back in this train with Alonso. I don't think he'll be able to. Unfortunately, I think Albon broke the train originally, and Gasly must have been massively compromised by Leclerc when Leclerc passed him, because he's out of it now as well. We need to watch this because we need to know what happened to Gasly here, because Gasly's got the sort of run on Zhou, but he gets massively squeezed by Leclerc there. Once again, AI nonsense. This random nonsense yielding needs to be addressed. We now need to hope for an incident, because it's now Gasly heading a train 2 seconds off Leclerc. Although at least Zhou's out of DRS with Magnussen, so Leclerc should get Zhou relatively easily. So if he squeezes Zhou anywhere, no, he's just swept past him. If anything, Norris actually getting Gasly back here could be beneficial. I'm sorry, what? Well, I missed the replay for Vettel on Alonso, but Alonso's behind Albon, so there must have again been some kind of AI squeezing. I mean, it works both ways, I guess. Vettel's now in DRS with Tsunoda and has passed Tsunoda for 13. Fuel-wise, we seem to be okay. Yeah, I do feel like Norris is more likely to be able to catch Zhou here, but Pierre's having another look at him. We need one of these vehicles to be massively compromised to re-provide a train. But Gasly and Vettel running 12 and 13 now is not bad. We're sort of back to being vaguely competitive again. It's probably best, Pierre, if you don't actually overtake Norris here, because now you'll have DRS on this straight. This is going to be backwards and forwards, I feel like. Huge random positioning situation behind, as Vettel doesn't have DRS, of course, so it becomes a bit of a sitting duck. Yeah, whoever's at the front of the queue behind is a little stuck. Unfortunately, Zhou's in a train now and isn't falling away from it, and that pace is dictated by Bottas, who, well, has pace. So Norris and Gasly are going to struggle here a little bit. I might use this opportunity to harvest a tad with Gasly. In fact, I might use the train that Vettel's in to harvest with Vettel as well, as he actually overtakes Tsunoda at the same time. Just make sure Gasly doesn't lose the train. I mean, they push these tyres really hard, but I think they can get away with it on stint 1, particularly Gasly, who comes in first. And yeah, harvesting, technically. Gasly still sticking with Norris. And Magnussen has fallen out, now he's behind Leclerc, so it's 2 by 2 with the DRS. Bottas and Leclerc, Magnussen and Zhou, Gasly and Norris.
Okay, good job.
He got him, even without ERS. And Vettel actually maintained position that time round.
Let's take a closer look.
We'll watch this one because we didn't really see it fully. Yep, nice move. Got him before the actual corner as well. Without ERS. But if we're wanting points here, we need calamities. My one concern is actually undercuts, because we're actually going for effectively the longest stint. Although I think we might be coming in on our mediums before the medium soft runners. We're both drivers on harvest. Don't really appear to have any concerns in either respect just yet. In fact, Gasly is catching this train ahead, even on harvest. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't really mind Vettel losing positions here and there, as long as he doesn't lose more than one at a time. In fact, I'll let you go neutral here because you are a tad of a sitting duck. I don't want you to become third in the train, because that is when things become problematic. You can't do anything.
12.
When there's DRS involved, you can't do anything. So a little bit harvested. We can't allow Gasly to fall out of Norris's DRS, especially as he's now in Magnussen's. We can push on fuel there. We can pull back on fuel with Vettel. We can probably pull back on tyres with Vettel now as well. We'll let Gasly pull up to Norris a bit more again. But we've banked a bit of charge for both drivers. Not a massive amount, but it's probably a lap's worth. It's actually a six-way train at the front of this queue as well. Perez leading from Hamilton, from Verstappen, from Russell, from Sainz, from Ocon as things stand. Leclerc has managed to get back up to 7th, as you'd kind of expect, and has got past Bottas, but that is a DRS pair. Zhou's DRS train has fallen back into Norris. Magnussen struggling, seemingly. I apologise, there's not really been much of a gap in these first 10 laps in terms of just action, because it's Monza and there's overtakes every single lap. Can't really account for Magnussen falling back at this point. Vettel did the fastest first sector. But we can bring back Gasly's pace now. Now it's in a 4 train with Zhou. It becomes that much more difficult. We'll see how well he holds on with 4 dots, and then if so, none of this block of 4 actually are on soft tyres, so nobody's going to pit before Pierre. Gasly's holding on by way of DRS, of course. Vettel behind. Once again, it's sort of everyone right up the chuff of Yuki Tsunoda, who appears to have his seatbelt on this time. Worth noting, this is being recorded before I actually know anything specifically about what happened at Zandvoort with Yuki Tsunoda. By the time this is going live on YouTube, that'll have been probably made clear by then. It's got to be said, Latifi hasn't been massively dropped this time, but there's still 3 seconds off. Vettel's just taking Yuki Tsunoda in a non-DRS zone, which is slightly odd, but we'll see if we can break DRS somehow.
Pushing hard now, pushing hard.
Ah, no, he won't be able to, will he? Because he's immediately in a DRS zone after he's overtaken him, which very much couples his chances. So we'll stay on 4.
Copy.
Won't bother watching that, we just saw what happened. Simple DRS overtake. Just got to make sure that Pierre stays in touch with this train of 4. Use a smidgen of fuel to make sure that happens.
You can do what you want.
I think we're okay on tyres as well. Both stints are set up to be aggressive. So even going on 5 isn't going to make that medium tyre dip down too much. We've just got to be a little bit more careful with Vettel's. But it appears that everyone is a lot closer to the car in front, even within this 4 train, as they go kind of 4 wide. It's kind of 3.5 wide down the main straight. No one actually overtakes anyone remarkably by the end of it. Behind, Vettel and Tsunoda are still going tit for tat. The gap has closed a tiny bit between the 2 trains. It's down half a second since the last time I checked. Stroll was in danger of falling out of it there briefly, which I wouldn't have been against. I think Vettel must have got squeezed on that lap because he kind of got a significant chunk of time backwards on Yuki that lap, but DRS will solve things a little bit. And he'll be fine going into the next lap, for sure. Well, Alonso's taken Vettel now, but that's to be the head of the entire queue. Vettel's still got Tsunoda ahead of him. In fact, we might need to go a little bit more aggressive with Vettel just to make sure he doesn't even lose Tsunoda there. Oh, that was just... Sorry. I was just being lied to. Vettel was right behind Tsunoda. He said 0.9, but he was actually with him. Pierre's pit stop is in 7 laps, I want to say. Lap 22. So by the end of lap 21, he'll come in on, is probably the intention. So 6 full laps, 7 maybe. If we can squeak an extra lap out, then that'll be grand. In fact, he's just taking Magnussen. They had both fallen out of the Norris train, so we will go full attack. Maybe a smidge of deploy just to make sure we get back in range. Gotta make sure we get the DRS at the end of this straight, otherwise we are a little scuppered. It does feel like the differential has not been updated. Gotta make sure we get back in range by the end of this lap on Norris / Zhou, depending on whoever's behind at that point. In fact, this has now become one long train because Alonso clipped the gap between Magnussen. So we absolutely do not want to be holding anyone up in this train. And Gasly, I think, has done it. Through the chicane, he's a second behind again, which is odd because that's actually the best, probably, corner for us. With our low speed benefits. And he's within a second, so we can probably stop deploying now. That kind of burnt the entire deploy that he built up in the first place, but worth it. In fact, he may have dropped Magnussen, who does have DRS now, though. If we can drop Magnussen entirely, that'd be great, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. The interval by the DRS line is more than a second. We'll find out what happens next. Magnussen does have Alonso directly behind him. Obviously, we just need to be a little bit more conservative with Pierre's tyres again now, but now they're in a three-way fight. In fact, first medium runners are pitting on lap 18. These must be the soft runners. Yeah, they are the soft runners that are pitting on lap 18. Stroll, Albon, we'd probably expect Mick once he gets there. He does. So the soft runners are pitting. Gasly's up to 8th temporarily. I actually do wonder if that's going to hurt the medium run. I do wonder if that's going to hurt some of the soft runners, because it's going to remove a DRS train for some of them. Notably Bottas. Stroll and Albon were behind us anyway, so I don't really think there's much going there, but it's going to hurt Stroll for the few laps between his pit and ours. Yeah. Obviously the flip side is they're on fresh tyres. Just realised I didn't come back after one of the highlights, but all the soft runners have pitted, although there has just been an incident, no safety car, someone's just gone wide. It might have been Mick, or Stroll. It's Stroll anyway. It was Stroll on turn 5, which doesn't actually cost you any time. But the soft runners have pitted. They've come back out, obviously without any DRS. Now, it's whether or not they have any lap time benefits from the new fresh tyres, which they should do, but probably don't. Gasly now up to 7th as Perez comes out, much lower down the queue. Peugeot now heading this train. Oh, God, there's been a big shunt behind. That could be a safety car. Tsunoda with a penalty because he caused it. Who else is out?
Take a look now.
I just saw it.
Now watch this.
In the back of our shot. Is Vettel involved in this? I think it's Tsunoda who locks up. No, Vettel gets through clean.
Oh, there's chaos on the track.
I think Alonso's involved in it, but he... Oh, it must be Ocon that was involved in it. How did Alonso get back on track? Oh, no, sorry, Alonso's behind Vettel. I don't think that actually necessarily helps us directly. I mean, it does help us overall, but specifically at the moment, I don't think either of them were in the points. It's no safety car, though. Which, to be fair, might have helped, might not have helped. We could have come in and then maybe been a bit more conservative on the hards if a safety car had happened there. I think we're at the point where we can absolutely push Pierre. So whether or not we can get away with harvesting whilst pushing as well. I'm definitely going to harvest with Seb for the time being. I don't really mind Seb losing the place to Alonso. Because I don't think Seb's going to be in the points at the end of this regardless.
Just need to charge up.
Obviously, Yuki's in the pits again now. Surprised Alonso doesn't have a damage, actually. Oh, Gasly needs to stop harvesting because he's falling out DRS range. We're good through the chicane, so we should be right. In fact, we might actually have to deploy through this section, ironically. Get back in DRS range. Gasly, what have you done? How did he fall so badly out of DRS range? Just by harvesting. That is remarkable. Oh, he's got it. That's fine. We'll stick to neutral then. I don't think we can harvest. Seb can, seemingly. I'm not going to harvest any more on that particular lap, but because we need to save fuel instead. Joe can't do anything with Norris, which is unfortunate. But a safety car now would be fascinating. Yeah, Joe keeps having a look at Norris, but not actually making a move. If I do clever harvesting, so he's in 4/10s now, so if I start harvesting now with Pierre through to the DRS line, should be all right, I think. I need to do smart harvesting to make sure Pierre gets some level of ERS to use on his outlap. Nobody appears to have DRS from Perez downwards. I don't know how badly that's hurting any of them, but none of them appear to have DRS. Doesn't seem like it. It doesn't actually seem like Gasly's managed to harvest that much. It's just a case of not using it, which I'll allow him to do on the main straight. Alonso's now in the pits. Oh, it's Gasly's optimal pit stop lap. What's his tyre on now? 50%. It'll be on 40-something by the end of this lap. I'm going to let him go one more lap. Both of them. I think we can get away with one more lap. Joe did get Norris that lap. Once again, harvest through this section. Vettel's really having a look at Magnussen behind as well. If Vettel can get Magnussen before the pit stops, that'd be grand, but... Just getting one more lap now is one lap less, obviously, on the hard tyres, which allows them to push that little bit harder on the hard tyres as well. I don't want them to go below 40% on these mediums, so if we can make the most of them, that would be fantastic. Alonso obviously not having DRS anymore. We ignore there. But now we actually do Pierre's pit stop. And frankly, it doesn't really matter if he loses DRS this lap, because he's going to pit at the end of it. I think Vettel's at full charge, but I'm not 100%. Yeah, Gasly's not falling out a second this time, which is good news. So we'll allow him to fully harvest this lap. Yeah, I don't really want this to go too much below 45. Definitely below 40 is a mistake. But I also want to get an undercut. If I can. Alonso pitted first, so this is going to be important information. Where we come out in regards to Alonso. Because he's running by himself without DRS now. And I think that's... No, that's the pitted Perez behind us. It's not a lapping car. The Gasly's in. None of the rest of them have pitted. So Alonso must be doing medium hard. Alonso must be the only medium hard runner other than ourselves. Everyone else must be doing medium softs. It's going to be an interesting differential at the end of this race.
Got loads of energy.
Alright, so Vettel's fully charged, so he doesn't need to worry about that anymore. You can go full fuel as well. Bottas will clear us. Alonso is coming up the pit lane now. In fact, Gasly, are you going to be in Bottas's DRS?
Stop lift and coast.
And there's been an incident in Sector 1. Vettel's got Magnussen. I don't know whether that's just straight up overtake or Magnussen's had a moment. So Vettel got past Magnussen. Whether it held up Vettel is going to be a problem. No, he's just gone straight on. No concerns for Vettel there. Vettel just continued as normal on that lap, but of course he will be our DRS on the reverse straight, so he won't have that benefit. Just realised that I haven't actually set Seb up to pit, so I'll get that done now. Gasly's on deploy. If he can get in range with Bottas, that would be fabulous. He's slowly closing, but I don't know how long that's going to take. So the three ahead of Gasly were already ahead of him before the pit stops. The ones we're eyeing, of course, are Norris and Zhou. We'll watch Seb's pit stop.
Pit limiter.
Obviously, we can't deploy with Gasly forever. He got within 2.8, did Gasly. I wonder where Seb's going to come out in relation to Gasly here. Obviously, he didn't have DRS on that last straight. I'm slightly concerned Gasly's on the inside. He is. So actually, the overcut was better for him.
You can use energy.
And it backed Gasly into Alonso. Vettel. Oh, Vettel, you moron. You cut off Gasly, cost him 2 seconds, which is going to cost everyone 2 seconds. Oh, you utter moron. I mean, if we can all undercut Norris and Zhou, that's still going to work out. But, I mean, at the very least, Gasly's going to get towed along by Vettel on this DRS straight for a lap. But I quite like Pierre to get past, but I can't order him to let him through because Alonso's right on the back of him. Gasly with the DRS should make light work of Vettel here. Why are you not attacking him? I mean, we are, as a pair, still gaining on Bottas. Might as well harvest a little bit with Pierre, whilst he's got DRS on Vettel. There we are. Now don't fight. Now he's already passed. Don't fight. Also, don't go and harvest any more Gasly. Now you're at the end of that straight. 4.2 to Bottas. Will we ever catch him, I wonder? They're on mediums. So they're doing the soft-medium strategy that may not reach the end. Whereas we're obviously pushing these hard as much as we can. And they probably still have some wiggle room, even if we go full 5 aggressive attack. But I'm definitely obviously going to go aggressive, just to see if we can catch Bottas at all whilst going aggressive. It's a shame that we allowed Alonso to get into this fight. So, working out the difference between Norris and Gasly, I think it's about 24 seconds. 1 second. I'm pretty certain it's 29 seconds in the pit lane, so I've got a feeling we might have undercut Norris and Zhou by 5 seconds at this point. And we are gradually closing on Bottas, but not by much. There might be a stage where we just go, yeah, we'll leave it with these guys. Obviously, the fuel, with Gasly being in the lead of this, isn't helping. Alonso's overtaken Vettel, and we remarkably have still come out behind Norris, even though it was a 29-second pit stop. But we've come out behind Zhou in his DRS, taking him relatively easily. In fact, Alonso got through. I've got a weird feeling they may have blocked us out of the pit lane.
You're in a good place.
I didn't see it because I was on faster because I didn't realise it was about to happen, but yeah, Vettel isn't 2.5 behind him. I've got a feeling that maybe one of these two squeezed one of us off and Alonso's got past both of us in the process. I do not know how they've come out ahead of us. Makes absolutely zero sense that they managed to come out ahead of us. Fact, Vettel, go for him. Try and get Zhou. There's been an incident in Sector 1. It's Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda by the looks of things. I mean, once again, this would be some form of safety car, but it isn't. All 4 of these are fighting for position. Yeah, it's Mick Schumacher and Yuki Tsunoda. That was all for position. So Gasly absolutely charging, trying to catch up to... I guess we try and... Oh, no. Actually, he might be in range anyway. We might be all right. So it's a new train with Norris involved at the front of it. We did technically undercut Zhou with Gasly at least. But I didn't see how they came out of the pit lane. I do feel like there was some kind of shenanigans with the engine. Again, the same way Vettel held up Gasly. That specifically let... Vettel's just done the fastest lap and still hasn't overtaken Zhou. He's basically used his entire ERS and still not got past him. Work that one out. I mean, whilst Norris is on soft tyres, Alonso is burning them up. Like, these guys have come out on soft tyres and they're going to be burning through them. And at some point, the hards being better than the mediums at the end of this race is going to be a thing. Poor Mick, though. I mean, that one was his fault. I do feel like Norris is just going to waltz away from Alonso here relatively easily. But we'll get him back. And actually, as long as Norris tows along these hard runners, his soft tyres will be wearing out. At some point, I'm going to be marginally concerned by fuel here.
Fuel.
We'll let this run a little faster, but I daren't run it too much faster because I'm just concerned about... Vettel still has the fastest lap somehow. I think we're just going to have to come back to aggressive for the remainder of this hard stint. Or at the very least till we know that we can actually go full attack at the end of the race. We don't appear to be losing overall, which is good. In fact, Zhou is in danger of falling out of a DRS train. And Norris isn't going significantly faster Alonso. We're a long way from being lapped as well, so I think we might be alright on that front, this race. And we are slowly getting closer to Bottas. Okay, so we now have better tyres than the soft runners and the medium runners significantly. 12 laps to go in this race, and actually we rejoined Pierre Gasly at an opportune moment as he tries to take, well, both of them, but he does only outbrakes Alonso, I think. I'm worried he's about to be squeezed out on the outside here, the way I've seen it happen to so many other drivers. There it is. But what I was going to say is the hard runners now have better tyres than both the soft and the medium runners, and I'm slightly concerned he's outside DRS range, or will be outside DRS range by the end of this. Don't think we need to worry about deploying, but just make sure we get the run here. In fact, it's not going to be too long until the soft runners get worse than the medium runners. Tsunoda, who obviously had his incident early on, went on hards and stayed on those hards for ages. He's going to be able to doing a soft stint at the very end, but that won't matter. So Pierre's got a good run on Alonso here. Not making a move on this straight, which is actually sensible because DRS. Although on Alonso wouldn't have mattered because he still had DRS on Norris regardless. Nothing doing on that particular lap, but I do notice that Bottas is significantly closer. It's only 2.4 seconds to him. And of course this time Pierre wasn't squeezed out. Crucially, Alonso got Norris that last lap and now they're going to be fighting each other. So, fingers crossed one of them squeezes the other out quite hard here, like we've seen previously. No, never mind. I'm going to allow both drivers to be aggressive down this main straight. So I'm marginally concerned that Fernando, if he's not careful, could actually start dropping Lando here. I do wonder if these soft tyres are now massively worse than these hards. On the outside, Pierre goes. Is he going to outbrake Lando? No, Lando just decides to move twice on the straight. Not sure that's allowed, Lando. The gap to Bottas only 1.7 now, worth mentioning. Why is Gasly backed off there? Why hasn't he just gone for it on the inside? It seems so arbitrary when just drivers stop driving. We need to stop Norris scoring points here, team. Come on. His soft tyres will be going off soon, though. Bottas is on mediums, I'm pretty certain. Yeah. So Pierre on the outside of Fernando. Fernando's probably going to close him off just the same way that Norris did. No, actually, Fernando allows it. Oh, that was alarming closing speed on Lando there. And this time, Fernando's the one going to be squeezed out, I think, on the inside. We'll rewatch that.
Let's have a look here.
On the outside of Fernando there, as the weather changes in the middle of the highlight. But Vettel's still holding on the back of this train. I mean, the ideal situation now is Norris does something with Bottas untoward, and we end up 8th. Although someone did just lock up, but it won't be affecting us. I think it might be Magnussen again, in fact. But crucially, Lando does not have DRS on Bottas yet, and Pierre's having a nosy. In fact, I would quite like to be the one... I mean, don't overtake him by the DRS line, Pierre. That's what you're attempting to do here. Now go for it. Because Pierre's got the DRS, and he's actually on the inside on turn 11. I don't think I've seen anyone overtake there yet. I don't actually have any more ERS, so... And hopefully, by the time we get to the next DRS line, Gasly's in DRS with Bottas.
So this was the Aston Martin.
That was the perfect time to get past Norris. And hopefully Alonso had a sniff behind, or Zhou at least. One of them, I don't mind, they're not in our constructors fight. And I'm pretty certain Gasly might be okay just to burn these tyres to the end. Vettel's still in 13th, but not a lot we can do about that. Not sure what the gap to Lando actually is because it's not updated. Okay, it's still about 8 tenths. Just maybe try and break it briefly there. No, we didn't manage it. So Lando does still have DRS, although we've got the run on Bottas now. who's switched his defensive line. I'm marginally concerned we're going to have the situation where we get squeezed out here. We are. So I might give the Norris run on us again. Not ideal. 6 laps remain, though. 7 including this one. I mean, that would have been quite a lunge if you'd gone for that, Pierre. Blind me. You're way off. I could do Alonso getting Norris so he gets even less points. In fact, I could do with all 3 of us getting Norris, so just to guarantee they get no points. The perfect scenario would be getting Vettel through this pack. He's just been holding back on his tyres for a couple of laps there, and he does still have a tiny bit more deployment, but of course the problem is it's now a 3-strong train ahead of him to try and get through. Gasly's got a better run on Bottas this time, whose tyres will be going. I might just save his tyres a smidgen in the expectation that Bottas will sort of be a back and forth. Norris is outside a second. What happened there? Oh no, he's back inside. Just save Pierre's tyres for maybe a lap or 2 here. Go on, Gasly. I mean, you're not getting 7th, obviously, but it's just maintaining 8th here. 42% tyres for Bottas. 41% for Norris. Oh, please fall through this pack. He's got Alonso with 20% better tyres behind him. It's hard to know what actually good lap times are here, but Gasly did a 1:24.9. Gasly did the same lap time as Sainz last lap. I mean, that's with DRS on Bottas, but still. I do feel like it's going to be a little bit back and forth on Bottas for the remaining 4 laps. I feel like Bottas is just going to breeze through on this lap. Yeah, it's a 1:25.7 without DRS. Although, he's parked his car in an interesting place as Pierre. Hello, Alonso. I think Alonso may have just got squeezed out there, which could be a problem. Oh, no, he's actually still got his nose in slightly. Norris and Zhou are now beneath 40%. So, you'd think their tyres would be going off. Tsunoda's on 19. He's actually trying to get to the end on those hards, remarkably. Fascinating to know what his lap time is. 1:26.3. Mick Schumacher's done a 1:26.2. Tsunoda's done a 1:26.4. Tsunoda's on 19% hard tyres. Mick Schumacher's got 55% on a set of softs. Seriously? Seriously, game? You're telling me that 20% hard tyres are better than over half softs? Go on, Vettel. Nick him now. These soft tyres are going. I think the fact there's so many cars involved in this overtake is causing so much chaos. I'm marginally concerned by Norris on the inside here. Yep, that's what I was worried about, because that kind of nonsense is still happening. I wish tyre wear mattered for everyone else. It matters for your cars for whatever reason, but it doesn't matter for AI cars. Oh, Tsunoda has actually pitted. Alonso fell out of DRS. No, he didn't. Oh, this is worst case scenario. Norris is having to go at Bottas now because his 35% softs are still useful. Right, closing speed really helped Gasly there. I am concerned by 9 kilograms of fuel here, but I think we're okay. Because even though it says plus, we have been on basically full fuel for ages. Yeah, 3 to go now. See, Norris is on the outside of Bottas here and got past him without any problem at all.
11.
What just happened there? Why have we just been royally mugged off? This is unbelievable. We've just been screwed over. We were running 8th 2 laps ago, and we have been screwed over twice in the remaining 2 laps when they've overtaken us, because they've squeezed us out in places where you wouldn't back out. Norris is now 8th, and we're now 11th. They're getting 4 points, we're getting none. When 3 laps ago we were getting 4 points, they were getting 1. Now, good news is Gasly will get back in range no matter what here, probably. And Vettel does have a chance to at least take Zhou, but really that doesn't matter. I would presume Bottas will take Norris on the next lap. I mean, look at the way they're driving here. I mean, ironically, we could be actually in the perfect spot to try and take both of them, as Norris's soft tyres tick under 30%. I would actually expect both Bottas and Alonso to get Norris on this final lap.
2 to go.
Final 2 laps. We don't have any... We can't actually save ERS, and that was a weird early brake from Pierre, but that was a really weird early brake from Pierre. He stayed 6 tenths behind by doing that. But Zhou's outside DRS range, so Vettel could easily take him here. Also, neither of them took Norris, remarkably. So, Sainz has just started the final lap. Ferrari leading Monza. That's going to go down well. Leclerc's in 7th, though. Go on, Bottas. Take Norris. Vettel got Zhou. Good news.
Aston Martin with a great
I don't really know why Pierre's struggling to hold on here. All of you. He seems to just back out really early. I feel like Pierre's bugged out. I don't understand. I feel like Pierre's bugged out. I mean, the 2 ahead definitely are, because they can't even make... They're not even making a move on Norris. I mean, he's used it before we've got anywhere, so that was good work. Outbrake him, Pierre, outbrake him. Or just don't make the move. Oh, he does try to make the move, but then sort of fails. Sainz wins. From Perez from Verstappen, weirdly. Although Russell might get Verstappen online, he doesn't. How will we finish
And
11th in this
crosses
race?
the line first. He's taken
Go
the
down
lead.
the left, Pierre. These guys, why aren't they making overtakes? We're on push everything. Just make sure Vettel doesn't get re-overtaken. Oh no, he's actually 10th behind Gasly here. I think Pierre bugged out. He's backed out like 100 meters before everyone else on every single corner.
Let's check his flag.
And Norris gets 4 points because of
I
it.
don't really know what's happened.
I don't know either,
We'll
Pierre.
come back stronger next week. Take the pickup.
We've been royally mugged off there.
Checkered flag, but you can tough day.
No, Vettel, you did great.
Pickup you can.
I do not know what happened there. Norris has finished 8th on... I mean, once again, the tyre situation has screwed us because Norris should have been going backwards, as should have Bottas. Both Norris and Bottas should have been behind Alonso. It should have been Alonso 8th, Pierre 9th, quite frankly, and probably actually Vettel 10th.
To the constructor stand.
I mean, it's promising for the remaining
Leaders
6
next at the
races.
Marina Bay Circuit for a breathtaking race through the streets of Singapore.
And Singapore should actually suit us quite nicely because it's obviously a lower speed track in general. If that's what we can do on a fast track, I mean, that's a valid point. If that's what we can do on a track that doesn't suit our car, plus a new underfloor, we were marginally helped out by Magnussen, of course, having a couple of offs. But other than that, I mean, it looks good, doesn't it? Pierre up 2, Sebastian up 7. That is gutting. I mean, it's an incredible race by both drivers in the end. Seb had 12 successful defends. And we got the major payout, of course. I'm sorry, what? What was the point of voting then? You can see the full breakdown of teams' responses attached. Please note, in the case of a tie, we will always cast a deciding vote. Why did we vote then? 5 voted for, 5 voted against. Why did we bother voting? I mean, it doesn't affect us technically this year, but we're going to finish 9th regardless now, I think. I mean, we exceeded. Even though we didn't get points, they'll be delighted with that. And importantly, underfloor comes in before the next race. But I am somewhat furious at that turnout of events. 60 million in the bank as things stand. We might just bank that up and then build stuff at the end of the year, depending on how much money we've got. I don't think we're going to construct anything now because we're only going to be researching parts for the remainder of the year anyway. So there's not really much point building stuff that will boost car parts until the off season once we know how much money we've got left. But anyway, if you enjoyed that race and or were enraged by the same way we were, please leave a comment down below just to share my frustrations at least. Let me know I'm not alone. The next time out will be Singapore in a track that does benefit us that little bit more. I'll see you for that very soon. And that will be out in 2 days' time as well, just if everything goes to plan. In theory, this will come out on a Wednesday. Football Manager will be back on the Thursday. And then your Singapore race will be viewed on Friday. The same day, I should be, in theory, streaming again. So that link will be down below as well for Twitch. Until next time, 3R.